Listen, respect isn't something you demand, it's something you command. And the truth is, men don't respect what you allow, they respect the lines you draw. If you're tired of being overlooked, undervalued, or taken for granted, this isn't about changing who you are. It's about owning your boundaries. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 powerful boundaries that don't just protect your worth, they elevate it. Because when you set the right standards, you stop chasing respect and start commanding it. When it comes to earning respect, everything begins with your values. Your values are not negotiable. They are not things you set aside depending on who you're dealing with, and they are not up for debate when someone tries to push against them. They are the foundation of your identity, the rules you live by, and the compass that keeps you on track when the world is trying to pull you in 100 different directions. When you compromise those values, even just a little, you communicate to others that you can be moved, swayed, or manipulated. And once you do that, you open the door for disrespect, because people stop seeing you as grounded and start seeing you as someone they can test. Think about it. Every person who commands respect, whether in leadership, relationships, or friendships, is someone who is unshakable in their principles. They make decisions based not on convenience, but on what they believe to be right. And here's the catch: people don't have to agree with your values to respect them. What they respect is the consistency, the firmness, the courage it takes to stand by them when it would be easier to bend. When you consistently live out your core values, you create a presence that commands attention. It tells others that you know who you are and what you stand for, and that's a rare quality in a world where so many people change themselves just to fit in. When you let your values slip, it doesn't just affect how others treat you. It changes how you see yourself. The moment you act against your own principles, you chip away at your self-respect. And without self-respect, you'll always be chasing validation from others, hoping they'll fill the void you've created inside yourself. But when you honor your values, even in tough situations, you build inner strength and a quiet confidence that doesn't need outside approval. That kind of confidence is magnetic. People sense it, they respond to it, and most importantly, they respect it. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that setting values is about controlling others. It's not. You can't control how someone else behaves. What you can control is what you accept, what you allow into your life, and how you choose to respond. Your values are like the guardrails on a road. They keep you safe, they keep you moving in the right direction, and they prevent you from going off track when temptations, pressure, or toxic influences show up. And they will show up. There will always be people who try to test your boundaries to see how far they can push you. When that moment comes, the strength of your values is what decides whether they respect you or walk all over you. Living by your values is not always comfortable. In fact, sometimes it costs you relationships, opportunities, or approval from people you care about. But here's the truth. If holding on to someone means letting go of your values, the cost is far too high. Respect is not earned by pleasing everyone. It's earned by being authentic, even when it's hard and people notice. Even those who don't agree with you will quietly respect your courage to stand firm. And those who do share your values will be drawn to you, building connections that are stronger, healthier, and far more meaningful. Respect doesn't disappear all at once. It fades the moment you allow someone to cross a line unchecked. The first time a man speaks to you in a way that feels demeaning, the first time he makes a joke at your expense, or the first time he ignores your boundaries, that is the moment you teach him how to treat you. If you let it slide, you're silently giving permission for it to happen again. Silence communicates acceptance, and people take note of what you tolerate. The truth is, disrespect grows in the spaces where we stay quiet. Addressing it the first time is not about confrontation for the sake of conflict. It's about making sure there is no confusion. When you draw a line immediately, you eliminate the possibility of patterns forming. Many people test boundaries not because they are inherently malicious, but because they want to see what they can get away with. If you don't speak up, they assume their behavior is acceptable. that assumption becomes the foundation of how they interact with you moving forward. But when you call it out early, firmly, and clearly, you shut down any future attempt to repeat the behavior. It's not always easy to speak up, especially if you fear rejection, backlash, or being labeled as difficult. But here's the reality: being silent doesn't keep the peace, it only guarantees that disrespect continues. Every time you hold back, you trade a piece of yourself, worth for temporary comfort, and the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to reset the standard. By the time you finally decide to address it, the disrespect has already rooted itself into the relationship dynamic, and now you're fighting an uphill battle. That's why timing is everything. Respect is earned when people know immediately what you will and will not allow. Speaking up doesn't have to be dramatic or hostile. It can be simple, calm, and direct. A firm "I don't accept that," or "that's not how you speak to me," communicates more than a long explanation ever could. The power is in the clarity. When you correct disrespect right away, you aren't just protecting yourself in that moment. You're setting a standard for every future interaction. It shows that you are not someone who can be walked over, dismissed, or minimized. And that kind of presence commands respect without you having to beg for it. Some people will test you again just to see if you really meant it. That's natural, but consistency is what reinforces authority. If you hold firm every time, the testing stops because people eventually realize you cannot be moved. And those who refuse to respect your boundaries will remove themselves, which is a win in itself. You don't want relationships built on tolerance of disrespect. You want relationships built on mutual value and understanding. There will be moments when speaking up costs you something. Friendships may fade, opportunities may slip, and people may label you in ways that sting. But think about the cost of staying silent: resentment, frustration, and the slow erosion of your self-respect. The short-term discomfort of addressing disrespect is nothing compared to the long-term damage of ignoring it. Respect is not won by what you endure quietly. It's earned by what you refuse to accept. And the sooner you show someone where the line is, the clearer the message becomes that your dignity is non-negotiable. Time is the one resource you can never get back, and how you treat your time tells the world how much you value yourself. When you allow people to take it for granted, to waste it, or to consume it without giving anything meaningful in return, you teach them that your time holds little worth. But when you set clear limits, when you guard your hours like they are currency, you send a powerful message that your life is valuable, and respect always follows those who value themselves first. Too often, people overcommit, overextend, and say yes to things that drain them, all because they don't want to disappoint others. But every unnecessary yes is a no to something that truly matters: your goals, your peace, your growth. Men notice when you treat your time with purpose. If you're always available, always bending, always putting their schedule above your own, the underlying message is that your priorities don't matter as much as theirs. And that never earns lasting respect. On the other hand, when you're deliberate about where you invest your hours, when you create boundaries around your availability, men recognize that you are not someone who can be taken lightly. Setting limits on your time is not about being rigid or cold. It's about being intentional. Respectable people respect structure. When you say, "I can give you this much time, but not more," you create clarity. You also prevent resentment, because nothing drains a relationship faster than giving more than you truly want to give. The resentment builds quietly until it becomes frustration, and by then it damages the very connection you are trying to protect. Being upfront about your limits spares everyone that slow breakdown. People may push back when you first enforce time boundaries. They may call you distant, accuse you of being selfish, or try to guilt you into giving more. But that's simply a test. They want to see whether you'll crumble under pressure or stay true to your standards. If you stand firm, the message is clear. Your time is not up for negotiation. It is yours to give, not theirs to take. That firmness is what commands respect, because people may not always like boundaries, but they always recognize the strength it takes to enforce them. Respect for your time also starts with how you spend it on yourself. If you constantly waste your own time on distractions, excuses, or people who drain you, others will mirror that same disregard. But when you invest in yourself, when you spend your hours learning, building, and growing, people sense that discipline. They realize you don't treat your life casually, and as a result, they won't treat it casually either. Time is a mirror. How you treat it sets the tone for how others will treat it. The truth is, the people who respect you the most will never resent your boundaries, they'll admire them. They'll understand that your time is valuable because you are valuable, and the people who fight against your limits are the very ones who benefited from your lack of them. Enforcing time boundaries reveals who really values you and who only valued what you gave. That clarity is a gift because it filters out the takers and leaves you with those who genuinely appreciate your presence. The respect you earn from men doesn't come from how much time you give them. It comes from how much you protect your time. When they see that you don't hand it out carelessly, that you prioritize your own growth, your own goals, and your own peace, they understand they are dealing with someone who values herself. And nothing commands more respect than a person who knows her time is worth guarding. One of the most powerful ways to command respect is by understanding that your no doesn't need an explanation. Too many people weaken their boundaries by feeling the need to justify them, as if their reasons have to be good enough for someone else to accept. But the truth is, the more you explain, the more room you create for negotiation, persuasion, and pressure. When you give a clear and confident no, without over-explaining, you communicate authority. You show that your decisions are made with conviction and that they don't need external validation. Think about what happens when you decline something but then add a long list of reasons why. You leave space for someone to poke holes in your explanation, to challenge your logic, or to guilt you into changing your mind. Suddenly, your boundary is no longer solid, it's a debate, and debates weaken the power of your stance. On the other hand, when you simply say, "No, that doesn't work for me," or "No, I won't be doing that," the conversation ends there. There's no back and forth, no justification required. That simplicity carries strength. Men, in particular, respect decisiveness. They may not always like your no, but they will always respect the clarity behind it. Wavering, over-explaining, or apologizing makes your decisions look uncertain, as though you are not fully confident in them yourself. If you aren't firm in your own choices, why should anyone else take them seriously? Respect is earned when people see that you trust yourself enough to stand on your word without needing approval. Saying no without an explanation is not about being harsh or rude, it's about being self-assured. It's about recognizing that your boundaries exist because you chose them, not because someone else agrees with them. People don't need to understand why you said no in order to respect it. They just need to know that when you give an answer, you mean it. And when your words carry that kind of weight, people take you seriously. Of course, many people will push for explanations because they want leverage. They'll ask, "Why not?" or press for details, hoping you'll give them something to work with. That's where your discipline comes in. If you consistently fall into the trap of over-explaining, you give others power over your decisions. But when you stay calm and repeat your no with confidence, they eventually realize you are not someone who can be persuaded against your will. That realization is where respect takes root. It's important to remember that boundaries don't exist to please others. They exist to protect your time, your energy, and your peace. Every time you give a no without an explanation, you're reminding yourself that you are in control of your life. And people respect those who are in control of themselves. They may not always like it, but deep down they admire it, because decisiveness, clarity, and strength are qualities that people look up to, even if they resist them in the moment. You'll notice a shift once you master this. The people who truly value you will stop questioning your no, because they'll know you mean it. They'll adjust, they'll respect it, and they'll even begin to trust you more, because consistency builds reliability. The ones who continually fight your no are the very people who benefited from your uncertainty, and losing their approval is no loss at all. What you gain is far more important: dignity, authority, and the respect that comes from standing firm in your decisions. Your emotional space is sacred, and protecting it is one of the strongest boundaries you can ever set. Too often, people give unlimited access to their inner world, sharing their thoughts, their struggles, their vulnerabilities, with people who haven't earned that level of trust. When you hand over your emotions too freely, you not only risk being taken advantage of, but you also teach others that they don't need to earn the privilege of truly knowing you. Respect grows when people understand that access to your emotional space is not automatic. It's earned through consistency, loyalty, and trust. Men, in particular, notice when you are selective about who gets close to your heart. If you make yourself emotionally available to everyone, they see that as weakness, not generosity. But when you maintain a boundary, when you reveal your inner world only to those who prove themselves trustworthy, they see strength. They recognize that your emotions are valuable and that gaining your trust requires effort. That effort is what builds respect. Protecting your emotional space doesn't mean you shut yourself off from the world or become cold and distant. It means you develop discernment. You learn to distinguish between those who genuinely care and those who are simply curious, controlling, or opportunistic. Every person in your life doesn't deserve the same level of access. Some should remain at the surface level, while only a very few earn the right to go deeper. That selectivity communicates that you value yourself, and people respect those who clearly value their own worth. The challenge is that many people fear losing connection, so they overshare as a way to bond. They give too much too soon, hoping it will create closeness. But true respect doesn't come from flooding someone with your emotions. It comes from measured trust. When you pace your openness, when you allow people to prove themselves over time, you filter out those who are not serious or who don't have the capacity to treat your emotions with care. The ones who stay, who respect the pace, are the ones who deserve your deeper trust. Protecting your emotional space also means managing the kind of energy you allow around you. Negativity, drama, and constant complaining can drain you if you're not careful. Setting boundaries around what conversations you entertain and what behaviors you tolerate is part of emotional protection. When you refuse to engage in toxic dynamics, you make it clear that your inner peace is a priority. People might resist that at first, but eventually they learn that you are not someone who allows your emotions to be manipulated or disrupted without consequence. There will always be those who test this boundary, who try to guilt you, provoke you, or pressure you into lowering your guard. But every time you hold firm, you reinforce your self-respect. You show that your emotions are not tools to be played with or doors that anyone can walk through at will. And once people see that, they stop trying to exploit your openness and begin to treat your inner world with the seriousness it deserves. What happens when you guard your emotional space is that you attract a different caliber of people. Those who value depth, who understand trust, and who appreciate loyalty will rise to the surface. Those who are only there for easy access will fall away. And in that process, you not only earn respect, you also build stronger, healthier, and more meaningful connections. Because the truth is, respect isn't just about how people treat you on the outside. It's about how carefully they handle the parts of you that can't be seen. Protecting your emotional space ensures that only those worthy of your trust ever get the chance to hold it.